God strengthens and protects you in the process. When you heed his warnings, when you begin to realign your life according to his guidance, you are not left alone to navigate the storms that follow. Many times people misunderstand the journey of obedience, thinking that listening to God's voice will make life easier. On the contrary, obedience often leads you into trials, testing your faith, your patience, and your perseverance. But the beautiful truth is that God does not ask you to walk these paths alone. Isaiah 4:1-10 says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Strength, help, protection. These are not optional extras. They are promises for those who choose to listen and follow. Consider for a moment how many times in life we have faced challenges that seemed impossible to overcome. And yet, when we finally turn to God, when we surrender control and trust his plan, he provides strength that goes beyond human capability. It is the strength to endure what we thought we could not. It is the strength to rise after failure. It is the strength to keep moving forward even when the path is uncertain. That is God's power work in you. Philippians 4:13 reminds us, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." It is not your own power. It is not your own wisdom. It is God's strength flowing through you that carries you past every obstacle, every doubt, and every fear. Protection is also a key part of God's promise. When you obey his warning, you are shielded from unnecessary harm. You are guided away from paths that could lead to destruction. You are positioned in places where favor, opportunity, and divine provision are waiting for you. Psalm 91:11 says, "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." That is not metaphorical, that is a spiritual truth. God positions his protection around your life. When you choose to walk in obedience, the storms may rage, the enemy may scheme, but you are not alone. You are covered, upheld, and strengthened. Moreover, God's protection is also about equipping your spirit, mind, and heart. He prepares you to face challenges with wisdom and resilience. When you feel weak, overwhelmed, or afraid, his presence strengthens your inner being. When doubt creeps in and fear whispers lies, God's voice speaks truth that calms your soul. You are not merely surviving, you are thriving under his care. Understand this, strength and protection are not passive, they are active forces in your life. They require your participation, your obedience, your faith, your trust. But when you respond, you experience a God who is intimately involved in your journey, who fights for you, lifts you, and carries you when you cannot carry yourself. This is the God who warns, guides, strengthens, and protects. The God whose love is relentless and whose power is unmatched. The warning from God is an act of love, not punishment. Many people misunderstand the times of conviction or correction in their lives. When life gets difficult, when circumstances seem to press in from every side, or when a voice inside your heart nudges you to change, it is easy to think God is punishing me, but that is far from the truth. God's warnings are never meant to hurt you. They are meant to save you, to guide you, and to prepare you for the destiny he has ordained. Hebrews 12:6 tells us the Lord disciplines the one he loves and he chastens everyone he accepts as his child. Listen carefully. Discipline from God is not rejection. It is affirmation of your value, a clear signal that he has not abandoned you, but rather he is investing in your growth. Think about it this way. A parent does not allow a child to touch a hot stove without warning. They intervene, they correct, they guide, not to punish, but to protect. That is exactly how God works in your life. His warnings, his convictions, his gentle nudges, all are acts of love designed to prevent you from harm and to align you with his perfect plan. These Psalm 34 times in one sitting, 18 says, the righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. When you feel that conviction, that pull to pause, reflect, or change, know that God is close, not distant. He is not angry with you. He is deeply invested in your success and your spiritual health. Too many of us ignore God's loving warnings because we equate discomfort with punishment. We avoid the hard truth. We rationalize our behavior, and we convince ourselves that we can handle life on our own. But God's wisdom surpasses our understanding, and his timing is perfect. When he warns you, he is inviting you to choose a better path before it is too late. It is an opportunity to recalibrate your life, to realign your heart, and to embrace his guidance before mistakes become setbacks. Proverbs 14:9-12 reminds us, there is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. Ignoring God's warning is not strength, it is danger. Paying attention to his loving correction is true wisdom. God's warning is also a call to trust him fully. It asks you to relinquish control, to surrender pride, fear, or excuses, and to let his love guide your decisions. In doing so, you experience a freedom that the world cannot offer, freedom from regret, from unnecessary pain, and from missed opportunities. Every warning carries a purpose, a hidden blessing, and a chance for transformation. Do not mistake the warning for rejection. Do not treat his discipline as punishment. Recognize it for what it truly is, a sign of love, a divine intervention, a God who will go to great lengths to see you succeed, flourish, and fulfill the purpose for which you were created. God's warning is love in action, a beacon guiding you back to your destiny and ensuring that his promises in your life are fulfilled. Your spiritual life must be prioritized. Too often, we live as if our spiritual well-being is optional, as if our connection with God can be postponed while we chase after career goals, material success, or temporary pleasures. But let me tell you, there is no part of life that exists outside the scope of God's design. Ignoring your spiritual health is like ignoring the foundation of a building while marveling at the paint on its walls. No matter how impressive it looks, it will crumble without a solid base. The Bible reminds us in Matthew 6:33, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. This is not a suggestion, it is a divine principle. Your life, your decisions, your relationships, and your destiny are all rooted in your spiritual alignment with God. When you put him first, everything else falls into place. Many people fail to prioritize their spiritual life because they are overwhelmed by the noise of the world. Social media obligations, the pursuit of recognition, and the endless chase for comfort distract them from the most important relationship they could ever nurture, their relationship with God. Yet, this is exactly what God warns against. He calls you to pause, reflect, and intentionally center your life around Him. Psalm 105 says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light for my path." Without that light, your steps are uncertain and you are vulnerable to deception, poor decisions, and spiritual decay. But when you prioritize God, your path becomes illuminated, your purpose becomes clear, and your life becomes anchored in truth and divine guidance. Prioritizing your spiritual life also means evaluating where your heart truly is. Are you investing more energy into fleeting pleasures than into the eternal? Are you spending hours chasing success while neglecting prayer, worship, and reflection? God's warning is gentle but firm. If you do not prioritize your spiritual health, you are setting yourself up for unnecessary struggles, confusion, and emptiness. The richness of life is not measured by wealth, influence, or accolades. It is measured by the depth of your faith, the clarity of your purpose, and the strength of your walk with God. It is in this prioritization that miracles begin to happen. When you align your life spiritually, doors open that no man can shut. Peace flows that surpasses understanding, and blessings manifest that defy logic, but it requires intentionality. You must choose to spend time in prayer, to meditate on Scripture, to seek God's guidance, and to allow Him to shape your decisions. Colossians 3:2 reminds us, set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. God is calling you to shift your focus. He is inviting you to recognize that your spiritual life is not secondary. It is the very essence of your existence. It is the source of strength when trials come, the anchor in the storms of life, and the compass that guides your journey. Prioritize it, nurture it, and protect it, because in doing so, you position yourself to experience the fullness of God's blessings and the abundant life He has promised. Immediate action is necessary. God's warning is not meant for tomorrow, not for next week, not for a time when it is convenient. It is for right now. So often we treat the prompting of the Spirit as optional, as something to consider later, as if God's timing is flexible. But the truth is, there is urgency in His voice. The longer you delay, the more the world pulls you into distractions, the more the enemy tempts you to settle for less than God's best, the more opportunities slip through your fingers. Proverbs 27:1 warns us, do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring. Time waits for no one, and neither does God's calling. Immediate action requires courage. It requires faith that what God has spoken is real and that He is faithful to fulfill His promises. It requires a willingness to step out of your comfort zone, to let go of familiar patterns, and to embrace the unknown with trust. When God issues a warning, He is saying, act now so that your life will align with my will. Delays often result in regret. Hesitation often results in missed blessings. But bold, decisive action in obedience to God unlocks His power, His favor, and His provision in ways you cannot imagine. Consider the urgency displayed throughout Scripture. Noah acted immediately when God warned him of the coming flood. Abraham obeyed without delay when called to leave his homeland. Esther risked her life at the precise moment God positioned her to save her people. These examples teach us that timing is critical, and waiting too long can cost us the fulfillment of God's plan. The warning God gives today is an opportunity for breakthrough, but the window of opportunity is open only as long as you respond. Immediate action also demonstrates faith. It says to God, I trust you more than I trust my fears. I believe your plan is greater than my doubts. I am willing to obey even when it is difficult. This kind of faith moves mountains. James 2:17 reminds us, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Hearing God's warning and doing nothing is faith without life. Listening and acting is faith in motion. The consequences of inaction are real. Ignoring God's warning can lead to spiritual stagnation, missed blessings, and even hardship that could have been avoided. But when you respond immediately, you position yourself for protection, guidance, and favor. You align yourself with God's timing, and that alignment is where miracles happen. Do not wait. Do not procrastinate. Do not rationalize why the day is not the day to act. The warning is now. The opportunity is now. Your breakthrough, your restoration, your destiny begins when you take that first step in obedience. God's voice is calling. Your heart is stirring. The time to act is immediate because the life God has for you cannot wait. Obedience leads to breakthroughs. This is a truth that God has woven into the very fabric of our spiritual lives. The warnings, the nudges, the convictions, they are all meaningless unless they are met with action. You see, God does not just give guidance for information, He gives it for transformation. When you hear His voice and respond in obedience, you position yourself to receive blessings, miracles, and breakthroughs that cannot happen any other way. James 1:25 reminds us, but the one who looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do. The key word here is doing. Hearing alone is not enough. Understanding alone is not enough. It is the act of obedience that unlocks God's power. Breakthroughs do not always come in the way we expect. Sometimes they arrive as opportunities that open doors we never thought possible. Sometimes they come as a peace that floods your soul after years of worry and struggle. Sometimes they come as the alignment of circumstances, people, and timing that seems almost miraculous. But one thing is certain. Breakthroughs always follow obedience. Every time you respond to God's warning, every time you align your steps with His will, you are laying the foundation for a victory that cannot be manufactured by human effort. Many of us struggle because we want the blessing without the obedience. We want the breakthrough without the struggle, the miracle without the waiting, the favor without the faithfulness. But God's principles do not work that way. Isaiah 1:19 says, if you are willing and obedient, you will eat the good things of the land. Willingness and obedience are the keys. It is a posture of the heart that says, Lord, I may not understand everything, but I trust you. I may not know the end of this story, but I will follow your instructions faithfully. That is when miracles manifest. That is when what seemed impossible becomes possible. Obedience also protects you from unnecessary hardship. Ignoring God's warnings often leads to mistakes, setbacks, and missed opportunities. But when you obey, even when it feels uncomfortable or inconvenient, you are walking in alignment with a divine plan that has your ultimate good mind. You are opening the door for God to work in ways beyond your imagination. Proverbs 16:3 says, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. Obedience is the commitment. It is the deliberate choice to trust God and take action on his instructions. Let me tell you something. God's breakthroughs are not random. They are intentional, precise, and aligned with your destiny. And the first step toward that breakthrough is always obedience. It may require faith when you cannot see the path. It may require courage when the world tells you to stay silent or compromise. It may require surrender when pride whispers that you can handle it alone. But the moment you act in obedience, the chains of delay, frustration, and stagnation begin to break. You begin to step into a life of purpose, favor, and abundance that only God can orchestrate. God is warning you to pay attention. Yes, I said it. God is sending a message, and it is not a gentle suggestion. It is a warning that comes from a place of divine love and infinite wisdom. Too often we move through life distracted, chasing after fleeting pleasures, accumulating things that cannot satisfy the deepest longings of our soul, and ignoring the still small voice that whispers, nudges, and sometimes shouts to get our attention. That voice is God. He is calling, and his warning is clear. Do not continue down the path of self-reliance without acknowledging me, for there is a consequence to ignoring divine guidance. The scriptures remind us in Proverbs 3:5-6c, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. This is not just advice, it is a warning wrapped in the promise of protection and blessing. God sees where you are heading, and he knows the obstacles, the pitfalls, the storms that lie ahead. He sees the detours that could lead to heartbreak, disappointment, and defeat, and he is reaching out to guide you back to the right path. It is easy to dismiss God's warnings because they often come quietly at first. You may feel a tug at your spirit, a sense of unease, or an inner prompting to pause, reflect, or change direction. But how often do we brush it off, saying, I'll get to it later, or I know what I'm doing? Oh, but God's timing is perfect. And his warning is not arbitrary. Every nudge, every moment of conviction is a lifeline designed to prevent us from stumbling, to redirect us toward purpose, and to protect the destiny he has ordained for us. Ignoring it is like ignoring a flashing red light at an intersection. The consequences are real, and they are often irreversible. Understand this: God's warning is not to instill fear, but to awaken your awareness. He does not delight in seeing his children struggle unnecessarily. He longs to intervene, to lift you out of harm's way, to position you where his favor, his grace, and his blessings can flow unhindered. Isaiah 30:21 says, whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. That is the warning. That is the invitation. That is the divine directive that cannot be ignored. Every warning carries the potential for a miracle. When you pay attention, when you listen, when you respond with obedience, God can redirect the trajectory of your life. He can take what was intended for harm and transform it into something for good. But the first step is awareness. You must recognize that this moment, this whisper, this conviction is God Himself reaching into your life, holding you by the hand and saying, stop, look, listen, I have a plan for you. And it begins with heeding my warning. Time is not a luxury. The warning is now. God is speaking, and if you truly listen, you will find a pathway that leads to protection, purpose, and provision. It is a call to awaken, to rise above distraction, and to embrace the divine guidance that has always been available to you. Your life, your destiny, your future all depend on the ability to hear God's warning and respond before it is too late.